Yo, it's D.Arthur in the building. I'm talking to you guys today about they will respect you when you ignore them on semen retention. Women will respect you when you ignore them on semen retention. Now, how does this really work out? How does this really work out? How can you, quote unquote, ignore someone and then have them respect you? Because that's not logical. That's not a logical thing. A lot of people say what I'm saying is not true. They could be right. The bottom line is when you make yourself a man of value and you focus on yourself and you are very it seems like you're full, and semen retention is a metaphor for is a code word for being full. You're full when you go on semen retention. When you fat recently or you ejaculate with a girl you may not really like as much, you're you might feel a bit emptier. You're not fulfilling your purpose. Guys put too much emphasis, too much importance on S3X. They just put too much importance on it. They need a bust every single time they get. They're not disciplined. They don't have it. They don't own any assets, but somehow they're worried about ejaculating. They don't own any assets. They don't own anything of value, any things of value, but somehow they're worried about when they're gonna get their next nut off. This is how your common man thinks. This is why people live in mediocrity. Their priorities are effed up. They have no priorities. They're doing things that are convenient for them. They only care about convenience. Doing the hard, disciplined, long tenure thing is not the popular thing to do. The bottom line is when you ignore her, she may respect you on semen retention. A lot of nowadays, in today's modern society, I don't care if she's giving you choosing signals. I don't care if she seems like she's interested. It all could be for nothing. Don't ever get too happy or don't ever get too low. Stay in the middle. Always stay in the middle. Never reveal all your cards. When it looks like you've become a man who has value, who may be a bit more attractive and is focusing on himself, and maybe the woman sees you in these areas, she sees you in these settings, maybe you're in a social setting or something like that, she will make herself available to you. If she sees that she is attracted to you, she will make herself available to you. In the dating game, you actually have to try less. As crazy as it may seem, and as contradictory as this may seem, and as how a lot of people will not agree, I remember there's some woman who was responding saying that's not correct. You may have to try less. The less you do, but the more attractive / captivating you may seem, the more she'll try. You want her to try harder than you. This is where you'll have her at a good spot. And the best thing to do this is by working on yourself, not being too excited to be with her. Being quote unquote stoic, concealing your interest. Talking to her like she's a normal person. Talking to her like you would talk to one of your homies. You would talk to maybe you're on a one-on-one with someone who's in your family or something. Just talking and making it as normal as it can be. This will show off. This may go in her brain. This may come across as, maybe I'm not doing enough for him to like me. Does he even like me? And then she will start trying a lot harder. When she actually starts trying a lot harder, she'll make it up in her mind that if I'm trying this hard, then I must like him. This is how the brain process goes. So she'll respect you when you ignore her. Sometimes you don't have to be available. You may not even have to care as much. You're focused on yourself. You're focused on building your own things, your own life. You're only focused on yourself. And like I said, when you focus on yourself, people who are attracted to you naturally will gravitate towards you and start making themselves available to you. You do not need to try as hard as you think you do. Guys make the mistake. The first date, they're giving her flowers, they're taking her on these expensive restaurants, they're doing all these things to quote unquote try to impress her. The more you try to impress her, the more you've already lost, because now in the hierarchy of status and values, you're making it seem as if she has more value than you, more status than you. And the moment she thinks she's better than you is when the moment you pretty much lost. So, like I said, conceal your interest. You may even have to ignore her. I've noticed nowadays, I've noticed that if we're talking about women and stuff, modern women, a lot of girls just live their life. Especially on if you're on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, they live their life. They just live their life. They're just doing everything that they like to do. They're doing all the things. They're whatever they're doing. They're traveling. They're doing all these things. They're living their life. This is how you have to start acting as a man. Guys are way too focused on women. Live your life for you. Do the things that are naturally for your core values. Start acting out on them, because it seems nowadays like the women are worried about themselves and the men are worried about the woman. It can't be like this all the time. As much as they say all these things, you have to focus on yourself. You weren't meant to chase. You were meant to be the one chased. As crazy as society has sold you. Make yourself a person worth being chased. Work on all aspects of your life. Become high value. Now, being a high value man is not gonna keep a woman. It may attract her. She might be attracted and drawn to you because she might find you attractive, but that's not going to keep her. She's attracted to the mental fortitude of a man, how his inner how he operates internally, how he acts, his vocal tonality, his words, how he makes her feel while he's talking to her. These are the things that she's attracted to. So everything that's not this, I would limit to it. I would limit it. I would limit the conversations on text message. I would limit a lot of different things until you're one-on-one with her. And then when you're one-on-one with her, speak to her in an intriguing way, dynamic way, thought-provoking way, and you will win her over eventually. But if you're because the thing is about guys is they just worry too much about logistical things when it comes to dating. They put logic into dating, and dating nowadays is illogical. This has nothing to do with logic. This has everything to do with how you make her feel by the words that you are speaking when you're with her. How you make her feel when you're right in front of her speaking to her. You have you have to give her your attention. Has to be like a drug to her. Your attention has to be a drug. Make it be very detail oriented when you speak to her in person. But when you're not with her, don't make yourself so available. You have to be a mysterious guy, but once you're actually with her, then come across as captivating. This is all this, and this starts to develop itself. Your authentic self once you worked on yourself outside of being with her. You have to know yourself in order to attract and keep women that you like. You have to know yourself. You have to display what you know to her in different ways. This is how you can come across as attractive. You have to learn how to speak in the language of seduction. This is how you can pretty much win her over when you're with her. A lot of guys don't know these secrets, and they're always talking about logic. Oh, I've done so much for her, but she's not reciprocating anything back. She's ghosting me. I've done so much for her. Because this is not a logical way to live. If it was a logical way, everybody would be winning. This is not a logical. This dating game is not logical at all. It's about how you're making her feel with the words that you're speaking to her. And you can do this very well once you also practice and once you're comfortable with yourself. The more comfortable you feel, the more comfortable she'll feel. This all comes down to working on yourself outside of when you're with her, and then you can display these words and how you can, banter her, flirt, all these things when you're with her. This is how she likes you. This is how she falls in love with you. So, and what anybody says about money, looks, status, all these things, those are good to get you in the front door, but they're not going to keep her around. You have, when you're with, like I said, when you're with her, it has to be some sort of an adventure. It has to be some sort of, you have to make it fun, because women like fun. They like fun. You got to make it. You got to make it like a kid's game, like a child's game or something like that. They respond to some things like this when you're too, especially I feel for the guys who are very good at whatever they do, and they're super logical, they're super masculine, they're super alpha, because it may seem out of this world to act like this, because you're not really used to acting like this, but you may have to act like this to some woman to help them, to make them, for you to come across as attractive. If you're trying to attract them, just come across as a fun, nonchalant guy. She will be attracted to you. When you ignore her, and it goes 10x, because now she has to chase you. Especially if she finds you attractive, she has to chase you. When she's the one chasing you, you have already won. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.